If you have an analytical mind like me, you love data. You love tracking stuff. You love the subreddit. Data is beautiful. You love seeing kind of the world in certain metrics, right? There's nothing wrong with that. The problem though with data is it never ends. There's endless amounts of it. You could track everything all the time, everywhere. It is important, I think, to zoom out a bit and ask yourself, what data are you putting value on and what are more like vanity metrics? What are you tracking just for the purpose of tracking or to make yourself feel better, but it actually does not make your life better? So let's take a look into that. In my life, I'm using a system called PGPT, which stands for Principles, Goals, Projects, and Tasks. And it's basically how I set my goals on a quarterly and yearly basis and make sure that the daily thing I'm doing, the daily tasks, are aligned with my principles, with my purpose, with the stuff that I actually value in life long term. It is very easy to get lost in tasks and to-do lists. If you want, by the way, I can make a video about my exact goal setting process if you comment below and you request that. I'm happy to share that with you. So the question is the thing I'm currently doing, is the thing that I'm currently working on serving my guiding principles? Now, defining your guiding principles is a big task in itself, and it's above this video. But let's say I'll give you a little bit of an insight into my guiding principles. They evolve a lot around freedom. Freedom is very important to me, more important than anything else. And that means location freedom. I want to be able to move to a new country. I want to be able to say, I want to travel this weekend. I want to book a quick trip. I want to be able to kind of pack everything up and move, which also then means, okay, I can't really have a lot of stuff. It is important for me, if I want to be mobile, that everything fits in 1 or 2 suitcases, which for some people would be horrible, right? I also want to have financial freedom. I want to be able to make enough money to being able to afford what I want to buy. Obviously that's very vague. What if I want to buy a luxury apartment in New York? Well, then I will have to work harder. So it has to be balanced with my needs and expectations of what a good life is financially for me. I also want to have freedom with my work. So I want to work on what I'm passionate about, which then has to balance with the financial freedom, right? So it has to be something that on the one hand I get paid for to reach financial freedom, but it also has to be something that I genuinely enjoy working on. I also want to, very important, be able to work with the people I like. And on the flip side of that, I don't want to work with the people I don't enjoy spending time with. That's a very important factor in my life. It's quite a lot to ask for. And maybe you're somebody who doesn't value these things, which is totally fine. Maybe you say, I'm totally fine in one location. I'm totally fine doing my job, even if I don't 100% enjoy it, but it's great because I can quit work at 5 p.m. and then I do the things I really love, and I accept and totally appreciate all the different views and angles that people have for their life. Just giving you an example of me here.
I am broke.
So let's say I get a job offer. Let's say it's a project for like 2 weeks and I get a lot of money, like a really good hourly wage, but I have to travel for it to a place that I don't enjoy very much, and maybe I have to work with people that I don't really want to hang out with. Well, I might decline that job. Even though the money looks good, it doesn't really tick the other boxes. Now, of course, if I get paid $1 million to work for 2 weeks and I hate every second of it, I'll still say yes, because obviously it serves the financial freedom aspect so much that I can make it back later. But you get my point. Now, another example would be, if we talk about seduction, Tinder versus cold approach, right? Swiping on Tinder to finding a partner versus talking to women on the street. Now on the outside, both of these serve the purpose of kind of meeting a girl and maybe having sex with her. But what if your guiding principle is you want to improve yourself as a human day by day? You want to be a better version every day. How does swiping on Tinder an hour a day serve that purpose? I would argue it doesn't at all, because it's simply just like, it's like swiping this way or this way. It's kind of like swiping on TikTok, but in this other fashion, you're swiping on Tinder. It's the same thing. You're just like running through reels and profiles that you forget about anyway, simply for the purpose of finding a sexual partner most of the time, right? Versus cold approach, you're actually gonna step out of your comfort zone. You need to dress well, you need to smell good, you need to present yourself, you need to use your voice, you need to use your whole persona to even being able to stop a person and give a compliment and get into a conversation. So even if at the end of the day, maybe cold approach at the beginning is harder, more difficult, maybe even leads to less results, maybe makes you feel a bit worse about yourself in the early stages. If you look at the guiding principles that you have, if one of them is become a better version of you every day or every week, it will serve that further. If your guiding principle is have sex with as many people as possible in your life, okay, sure, maybe you should hire 5 personal assistants who swipe on Tinder all day, do all the texting for you, who scan dating websites and just get people onto your inbox. Good, but I don't think that is one of your guiding principles. Now, on that notion, let's look at what a lot of people are tracking. Let's look at the stats they value. They value stuff like how many matches they got on Tinder, how many likes they got on photos, or how many views they got on a reel they posted on Instagram, or in general, how many followers they have on Instagram. They look at how many phone numbers, if we talk about cold approach, how many phone numbers did you get yesterday on that cold approach session? I got 8 phone numbers, 8 women gave me their number, right? How many reps you did in one exercise at the gym? How many people are gonna show up to your wedding? How expensive is your car? How expensive is your watch, your apartment, your house? How many countries you visited, right? People post lists of all the countries they visited, or even put it in their profile on Instagram here and there, like 37 countries, right? How many girls did you have sex with? What is your body count? How many calories did you consume? Or how many calories did you burn in a workout session? Or what is your calorie goal? Often, you're comparing yourself with others. That's a very major stat people value themselves on. Like, this person has that, I have that, therefore I am this, right? What's your hourly wage? What's your monthly income? Your monthly revenue if you have a business? So a lot of these stats start with how many, how much. And they focus on the quantity, not the quality. I definitely acknowledge that in the early stages of any endeavor, right? If you start a business, the amount of hours you work will be very important. If you start in a new job, just fucking sticking through it, just putting in the work is important. If you start cold approach, it is important to approaching many, many people. It's important to saying hi to strangers. It's important to just give out compliments, get slapped in the face in a way. You know, I'm often on these calls. I do 2 consultation calls below for free, so you click below if you want to book one. Some guys started cold approach and they're telling me kind of like how they didn't have success yet, or they're discouraged, or it's not how they imagined it to be. And I'm asking them, well, how many approaches did you do? And a lot of them basically say, well, less than 10, like 6, 8, 7, right? And I'm like, well, you can make a quality assessment based on such a low quantity. But, important but, we're talking about long-term vision here, right? We're talking about your life, your big visions. I told you, purpose, goals, projects, tasks. We're not talking about a little task. Tasks can be talk to as many strangers as possible today. But what is the bigger vision here? It's to become more social, it's to become more charismatic, it's to become more giving, to become a better human, to be more calibrated, to be more likable, to be maybe a better lover, stuff like that. So, what is, in my opinion, good stats to focus on? What is something we should value instead? And with that, I love the quote of Naval Ravikant: "A fit body, a calm mind, a house full of love. These things cannot be bought. They must be earned." And keep in mind, this guy is a billionaire, right? So he for sure knows what he's talking about when it comes to these things cannot be bought. I often hate when people who have no money at all say money is not important, but I really value what people with a lot of money have to say about money and spending. I think a fit body, a calm mind, and a house full of love is a good North Star to have, a good guiding principle in itself. So based on that, what can we look at? How many real friends do you have? Who could you call right now? Let's say you feel horrible and you need just somebody to just listen to you, not even give you advice, just listen to you for a whole hour on the phone. How many people in your life do you have right now who you could do that with? How often do you push your comfort zone? How many quality interactions did you have in a cold approach session, right? So it's not about how many numbers did you get, but how often did you actually get to know somebody? How often did you stay in the conversation long enough to being able to draw something out of her, learn something special about that woman you're talking to, and maybe share a little bit about yourself and create a connection that way. How often did you do that? It's not the phone number that is the interesting metric. How many people did you make feel good today? So it still starts with how many, but it's a different value, it's a quality. You want to bring something into people's lives. How many percent of your calories that you consumed are healthy? How many are real foods, right? You should focus on that for the long term again. I mean, sure, if we're bulking and the short term thing is put on 5 kilos of muscle, the quality of the food maybe doesn't matter in a 30 bulk, right? If you know anything about that. But let's think about how we feel and look like when we're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, more maybe, right? Who knows how old we're gonna be. On that notion, how flexible are you? With the current projection, how flexible you are now and how flexible you were 5 years ago, and kind of projecting that into the future, how flexible will you be at 60, at 70? Will you be able to run after your grandchildren? Will you be able to pick up your granddaughter into the air, or will you just observe in your chair because you can't move? How good are you in bed? And obviously that's not just flexibility, but also, do you introduce new elements into the bedroom? Are you open-minded in that sense? Do you give your romantic sexual partners a top 5, top 10% experience, or are you quite selfish and you're just using a foreign body basically as masturbation object? What are you grateful for? Are you noting it down? Do you have not just a habit tracker of how often, how many push-ups you did, but do you have a habit tracker of how often you wrote down what are you grateful for that day? Because that will lead to happiness for sure. How are you better than you yesterday? So here we have, are you comparing yourself to others, or are you comparing yourself to yourself? What is the actual profit per year, and how much closer are you to financial freedom? So an hourly wage is nice, but if you have to sit in traffic 3 hours a day, or you have to live in a country that you hate, or you have to work for somebody who destroys your mental health, or your spending habits are horrible, and even though you make a lot of money, you spend a lot of money, it doesn't really help you, right? Somebody who can save half of his income, 40K a year, saves 20K, is richer in a way than somebody who makes 100K but spends 90K and spends all his time on it. And the real question is, how much closer did you get to your purpose, mission, guiding principle today? This week? Did you get a lot of stuff done, or are you actually moving closer to what is really important for you? The thing that you set down, maybe for a whole day, maybe a whole week, maybe you shut everything down, maybe you shut off your Wi-Fi, you put away your phone, you just take a pen and a stack of paper, and for a couple of days you just isolate yourself and really write down what is a good life, what is important for you, what will you look back on when you're older, and what are you going to proud of, and what are you going to regret? And you write that down, and then you adjust your daily tasks, your daily actions and habits towards that, because the daily thing leads to the big thing. And before I make my last point here, I want to also say you can have help with that, right? I'm super happy to define your goals with you and kind of like talk you through it, and also point out what is realistic, what is not realistic, what is gonna lead to long-term happiness or not. I mean, I'm living a very colorful life and I'm very satisfied with it. So if you want to talk about your goals, click the link below and book a free consultation session. To finish this off with, keep in mind, it's your life, it's your stats. You don't have to copy what I list here. This is just examples. You don't have to copy my guiding principles. It's good to have people to look up to. It's good to have idols. It's good to draw motivation and inspiration out of others. But it's very bad constantly compare yourself to others, because you cannot have the good without the bad, right? If you look at somebody who has a lot of fame, a lot of money, a lot of employees, a lot of beautiful art he created. Well, who knows what he had to go through to get to that point? Who knows even if he's appreciating that thing now? Who knows what he had to sacrifice? Who knows what he's really regretting in life? You don't know. And you will never really know until you get to know that person on a very deep level, right? So if you see an artist, if you see a famous person, if you see a rich businessman, if you see an expensive car, use it as motivation, sure. Be careful if you're just seeing a shiny object, literally an object or a certain like status symbol or a certain level of status that person has, or if it actually fits into your purpose, into your guiding principles. Because at the end of the day, what is important is a calm mind, a fit body, and a house full of love. So define your own metrics to get there, to get to your own thing. Take time to do it, write it down, print it out, put it somewhere, and ignore all the noise. Okay. On the outside, oh my God.